As the great independent director Mr. Werner Herzog once said, I despise formal restaurants. I find all of that formality to be very base and vile. I would much rather eat potato chips on the sidewalk.
Hello and welcome to Potato Chips on the Sidewalk. I am Ben, destroyer of podcasts. Joining me today is...
Jacob.
And today we're going to be talking about a tiny little film by unknown filmmaker. I think his name... Christopher Nolan?
No, it's Christophe, like French with an E at the end.
I think he actually goes by Topher. Topher Nolan.
Topher Nolan.
Yeah, he's new on the scene. He's coming out with a biopic about, I think his name is Oppenheimer. I think he's like some important history. I can't keep up this bit. We're going to be talking about the new Christopher Nolan film, Oppenheimer. Jacob.
Yep.
I think we finished this film about 1 hour and 8 minutes ago.
Yes.
And we started watching it about 4 hours and 8 minutes ago.
Yeah, I'm still absorbing it. Honestly.
I think it's good that we can process it together on this.
Exactly.
This little program we do. What are your thoughts on this Nolan character leading up to this film?
I mean, I've loved a lot of his films, and I think I like most of his films, but I felt post Dark Knight, pre Dunkirk, he was beginning to, well, I guess it's only 3 films in between that, but he was falling into sort of a rut, in my opinion. I know a lot of people disagree, and I know a lot of people think films like Interstellar and Inception are among his best, but I felt like he was indulging his worst tendencies, and I just didn't really like a lot of those. Well, not a lot of those films. They didn't work for me like a lot of his other ones did. But then
I know you're specifically not an Interstellar fan, but I didn't realize you weren't that big on Inception. Like,
I like Inception a lot,
yeah.
But I think it also has a lot of his worst tendencies in that film.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
And I like The Dark Knight Rises, but yeah, Interstellar's the only one I don't really like. And yeah, but Dunkirk I thought was a career rejuvenating thing for him. Yeah, maybe not career rejuvenating, but rejuvenating in how I saw him. And I was a big fan of Tenet. I think that was a really dumb brass action film. And yeah, I know a lot of people love it, a lot of people hate it, and I really like that one. What about you, Benjamin?
I think the only films of him I haven't seen are his following Debut and Insomnia.
Yeah, those are all good.
You know, I just haven't gotten around to them yet.
Yeah.
But overall, I really like Nolan. I'm not huge on Interstellar, but yeah, as you were saying, like I think he came off that with Dunkirk, which I consider to be honestly just kind of a straight up masterpiece. Like it's one of the most perfectly constructed films I've ever seen. Admittedly, I'm sometimes a bit of a bad cinephile. I do have a bit of a few blind spots, but out of everything I've seen, I struggle to think of something that is that well put together. And then I really love Tenet as well. I think it's just one of the most just give this guy a blank check and he's got these ideas in his head and he's going to put them on screen, and whether they make sense is up to the viewer. And I think it's just such like a great time. I saw it 4 times in cinemas accidentally. I saw it 3 times on purpose, and then the 4th time my friend wanted to catch up, and they were like, "Do you want to go see a movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, what do you want to see?" And they were like, "Tenet." And I was like, didn't have the heart to tell them, I don't know about a 4th time, so I went to see it. We finished, and they were like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "Well, I've seen it 4 times, so I like it."
Yeah.
But And I do like my little anecdote of Dunkirk. I saw it twice opening day. Because I walked out of my first screening, I had a message from my friend. It was like, "Do you want to see Dunkirk tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do. I do want to see Dunkirk tonight." Prior to that, yeah, I'm not really a huge fan of Interstellar. Like, obviously, like um, I don't think it's all bad, but I just think it it just. Remember when a couple episodes ago when I said that subtlety is overrated?
Yeah.
I think that's the exception to the rule for me. That film, like, it's just a little bit not to my liking. I don't know. I just get a weird vibe from it. But like, you know, like I like it overall. Dark Knight trilogy. I think they get progressively worse over the three. Like like my order is 1, 2, 3. I like them all, but you know, like that's just how I feel about them. I really love The Prestige, and Memento is really good as well.
Yeah.
All these episodes are just me running down my ranking of stuff. So going into Oppenheimer, obviously we got this whole Barbenheimer meme going on. Personally, I didn't really have eyes for Barbie. I had eyes for my man, Cillian Murphy, and I think it delivered even more than what I thought. It's going back to Dunkirk. I think this film I don't know if I would say perfectly constructed. Like I think the hour 45 of Dunkirk is masterful, but every frame of the 3-hour IMAX reel that he was constrained by is entirely necessary in this film, and it moves at such a breakneck speed that for like a film that's a biopic, mainly people talking in rooms, you know, there are the big spectacle scenes, but for a 180-minute film where like 140 of it is people talking in rooms, I was perked up the entire time. It's so quick. The cuts back and forth between scenes like that are parallel is just it's just I'm gobsmacked by this. Before we go any further, Jacob, what did you think of Oppenheimer?
Yeah, I think if not the best Nolan film, I think it's absolutely up there. I think it's another new chapter for him as a filmmaker, because he's not relying on spectacle as much as like the past I guess decade and a half of his career really has been based entirely around that. It sustains such a level of for something where there's so many moving parts, and as you said, like most of it's people talking, but there's so many moving parts. The fact the film can move so well at the pace it does, and not be too overly academic and actually be very jarring and haunting, and this thing about this intersection of creation, science, but also when that's weaponized, and horrifying film. I'm honestly kind of, as we said, we only saw it just over an hour ago, and yeah, I'm still gathering my thoughts on it, but I know that it's a film. I can tell it's a monumental achievement, and I'm not one of the big usual Nolan's one of the great filmmakers guys, but like, gee, between this Dunkirk, he's really putting himself there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm astonished. I think it's a major work.
Yeah. Just from the outset, like, like, it opens up with the it's based on the book American Prometheus, and it opens up with text describing the, like, in as few words as humanly possible, what the story of Prometheus is in Greek mythology. And from the outset, as soon as I saw that, I was just like, okay, I can't wait to see what he's going to do with this story. Because, for a film that is, it is a biopic, it is not, like, it's hard to use the word action. There are, like, exciting, like, huge sequences in it, but it just uses cinema to its full potential. Like, just the language, and there's, like, absolutely no shade to any film that, like, is, is simply about, like, people talking in rooms with stationary cameras, like, legal dramas, all that kind of stuff, like, stuff that people say, oh, it should have been a play. No shade to anything like that at all. But this is, like, you think, why shoot a film like this on IMAX? And there is a reason for it, because it's just, the film presents its events and implications as, like, one of the most important things that's ever happened in the history of the world, and rightfully so. But it just makes these small, tiny scenes just feel so monumental throughout that I just...
Yeah, but...
somebody, like, slipping up and saying the wrong thing to the wrong person at the wrong time, like, could be shot so simply. And it's... I'm just, like... as someone who, like, has been on a few student film sets, obviously student, but, like, just to have, like, the inner workings of what's going on in this guy's mind while he's on set, it's kind of unbelievable to me that this film is what it is.
Yeah, and off the point of why shoot a film like this on IMAX, the thing is, everything feels big and borderline mythological, because we are talking about something that could very well destroy this world. But it also does this thing where, despite that, it does a good job at making all these people feel slightly out of their element.
Yeah.
Like, not to quote Kanye West, but no one person should have all that power, but, like, no humans should be able to destroy the world. And it's horrifying, because there is this thing of, this man is, like, cheating on his wife, has these bizarre interests, and, like, definitely looks a little emotionally unstable at times, but, like,
a little.
Yeah, and he's like, he's a genius who's obviously done such a groundbreaking work of science, but, who has the right to make this weapon?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, there's this whole thing of, like, what, like, the implications of what the weapon could be are always there and are always noted by Oppenheimer, but the excuse is, but what if the other, what if the Germans have these bombs? What if the Russians have these bombs? But there's a sort of naivete to, like, we'll make the bomb but then also be surprised when it's actually used to kill people.
Yeah, me when I'm sowing versus me when I'm reaping.
Yeah, and it's like, who fucking dares do that? And like the film's not preachy, but it's aware of this. Like, there is this whole element of these are mere mortals playing God.
Yeah, and it does play into, like, like the race and the, well, if our enemy is doing it, we have to do it. Like, there's like a, like the justification they give themselves of
opening Pandora's box.
Yeah, like of like, it's Indiana Jones being like, well, if the Nazis are going to try to find the Ark of the Covenant, well, I got to find it first. Like, should anyone really open it? And it's like, again, like, well, literally the Nazis in the case of this movie. But I think it also plays really well into the inevitability. Sorry, I stumble over my words like always. Of like, well, if not these guys, who's going to do it later on? Like, it was all splitting the atom was always going to be something that physicists like arrived at, and it also plays into, okay, now that we've done it, when are we going to be destroyed by this? Like it's do you want to? What do you think of, like, where the film lands on Oppenheimer as a real figure and his, like, culpability in the in, like, where it ends up?
Well, I mean, it's interesting, and I think there's going to be a lot of differing viewpoints about this on the film, because while this movie is mostly talking and a lot of things that are said are spoken, a lot is also left quite unsaid, and left in the gaze of Cillian Murphy, who is, brilliant in this film. I've been very interested in Nolan's politics, because his most famous film, The Dark Knight, ends with two interesting points that, Batman's fine with mass surveillance, but it's okay because we destroyed it after. But then also, more interestingly, a concession that the systems of power don't work and are inherently corruptible, but it's worth keeping the facade that it does work.
Can I just say on that point, when we're talking specifically about Batman, like, why doesn't Bruce Wayne use his billionaire money to do good stuff instead of being Batman? Like it's, at the end of the day, like, any criticism that comes up like that, I just kind of don't really care about in the context of Batman. You know what I mean? Like, Batman inherently is silly.
Yeah, no, it is. But the point that Nolan's the film's heroic concession at the end of the day is that Batman should take the fall, because it's better to give the public a lie that the system's all good and everyone's fine and nothing's corruptible when it is. Like, that's a really interesting thing Nolan did, especially with Oppenheimer now, which is about quite literally opening Pandora's box, and this thing of, okay, we've created this, but now it's let loose. And like, I think I'm sure some people are going to read this as overly forgiving to Oppenheimer, which I can understand to an extent, but I think it it humanizes him, but it doesn't downplay his naivety of, when people realize how fucked up these things are, he was going to be the fall guy. And like this whole thing of this whole belief or not even belief, just not even thinking about okay, now that we have this atomic bomb, like this belief that, the Americans won't use it unless it's super necessary, and then and nope, they use it straight away.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just the thing for me is it goes into okay, it's done now. Let's, instead from trying to make the bomb bigger, let's look into regulating it and stopping here when we're ahead. And it is naive, but it's also Oppenheimer.
He's a complicated figure.
But the feeling I got from the film that if he played ball with the government, he could have become a senator or I don't know, held huge power if he didn't speak out against
absolutely
developing it further. So obviously, he's a very complicated figure of history, and I don't think the film portrays the bomb to be anything other than the most destructive thing ever created. It just kind of objectively is.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of it's a murky area to get into, and you take your own thing away from the film, and I don't really want to tell people what to expect going into it, but I think you can tell that Nolan studied Oppenheimer in a way that he might have projected his own feelings of these weapons onto the character as it's displayed in the film onto him. But it's so hard to do something like this that's going to make everybody satisfied or happy.
That shouldn't be, and that also shouldn't be the point as well.
Yeah.
It's that's the thing. It's it is sympathetic towards Oppenheimer, and it does note his naivety, but he did ultimately try to do the conscionable thing after the fact, after the Pandora's box is unleashed. And it's a complicated one, and that's the thing. It's not going to please everyone, and that also shouldn't be the point of it, because it is a film about murkiness of creation and implementation.
Yeah.
And it obviously it does not take a positive look on a lot of the people bringing it on Oppenheimer's security clearance being revoked, but it doesn't absolve Oppenheimer of his naivety and his actual culpability in creating this weapon of mass destruction. And that's the thing. It's people really want art to, especially these days, to give them a definitive answer when that's not how it is.
But
there are contradictions in this world, and when there are things like this, and the bomb was the atomic bomb, I believe is the worst creation humanity has ever created. Really, go on.
it's like you look at the way that people watch films like this, and it's like you go back to like one of the most popular movies of all time, Jurassic Park, and it lays it out so clearly. Like, you spent so much time thinking of whether or not you could, you didn't stop to think whether or not you should, and that is like the thesis that people have had about Oppenheimer since probably August 6th, 1945, you know, like it's not a new thought. But I'm struggling to think of, like, you know, like you think of like Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah.
Like, do people leave that and think, I don't know if Stanley Kubrick really laid his feelings about the atomic bomb out enough, you know, like I don't know. I'm just bringing up weird stuff for no reason.
No, you're good.
Anyway, I think we should get onto a couple of the performances, namely Cillian Murphy. He unsettled me a lot of this film. Yeah, he's the, you know, the promotional materials with his dead-eyed stare directly into the camera it's just for someone to like play this role and like give this sense of just like someone who understands everything going on around him, that he's just so like I mean, like in terms of like the universe, but not like directly around him. Like he can see through the Matrix, but you know, like he sees everything around him in terms of just matter and energy, but he just becomes so tunnel visioned, and I think he gives like a brilliant performance in it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely my definitely my favorite performance of the year so far. To do such a complicated figure like Oppenheimer is a gargantuan task, and it can be so easily overplayed but also underplayed, and yeah, he does it brilliantly. Brilliant. It's an astonishing performance, and also like this film has such a cast list.
Just a bunch of dudes.
Like of just so many people watched.
There's just so many dudes and Emily Blunt and Florence Pugh.
Yeah, you know? Like well, I'm looking at the cast list now, and it's like
it's stacked.
There's no time to talk about each individual performance, but overall, it's really well done. If
you pick one supporting player and sing and tell me what you thought.
I don't know. I don't know. Like,
just you're looking at the list now. Take a pick.
Dane DeHaan. Dane DeHaan is. Nolan went, that guy looks weird. Let's cast him as this sort of,
smarmy G-man.
Smarmy, just like his presence in this film is like sort of like seedy, slimy military man is like quite chilling. What about you, Ben? You think of one?
I want to sing the praises of Mr. Alden Ehrenreich.
He's great. Yeah,
he's really good in the film. I don't want to spoil anything, but I feel like he brought a little bit of his own experience into the role that he plays, and I think it comes through greatly. I also want to shout out Mr. Matt Damon for playing the Matt Damon role. like,
you were always skeptical of him in the trailers.
Look, I still kind of snickered at that little line he gives, that line reading, where he says that this is the most important thing that's ever happened in the history of the world. You're hamming it up a little bit too much for me there, Matt. But I think he did a good job. Benny Safdie, I think does really well. Josh Hartnett, I didn't even recognize him for, and I was like, holy shit, well, there's Josh Hartnett. I think he's really good.
Tom Conti as Albert Einstein is like, God, that's a whole thing. Like I know a lot of people thought of Einstein's in the promotional material of this film was quite funny, but like I won't necessarily say what his role in the film is, because I think that's the closest for a film about such a famous man and event. That's probably the closest thing there is to a spoiler here, but Einstein.
He's integral.
He's integral, but like also like Einstein's become so memed over the years, and like, you know, the sort of big hair, the moustache and that, but like Tom Conti does a really good job, and like the fact that that whole element of the film could have easily been a little laughable, but didn't, is a real testament to that.
Well, I kind of thought that his role, like from all the promotional materials, was just going to be like turn up for one scene, like Jason Statham in Fast and Furious 10. You know, like I thought he was just going to turn up for one scene, and then like he's like, we got to talk to all the scientists, and let's go to talk to Albert Einstein, and then but like his presence is felt throughout the film, and like I was very impressed with what he had to do in the film.
I really like Macon Blair as Oppenheimer's lawyer.
Yeah,
he's really good, and you know, let's throw a bone to our Jason Clarke, who gets too much shit.
Yeah, Jason Clarke was really good in this,
and he plays one of the councilmen at Oppenheimer's hearing, but he's a really good actor. I think he's just been misused as a leading man when not now he can't be a leading man, just not the leading action man that they really try to make him for a few years.
Yeah, I don't know how much more I can say about this without just, you know, sniffing.
I actually do. I have a lot to say about it.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Jennifer Lame is, for a while, has been one of the most important editors in American cinema of the past decade. This is among her best work. To collate what I presume is such a long amount of footage and make it feel so constantly moving and then come to quite a halt in a big way, is like, that is just editing excellence. Like, there's not a single wasted frame here, and like that's the thing. The Nolan made this film 180 minutes on the dot just because that's what IMAX could actually fit the 75mm plate that they've engineered just for this film on, and there's not a single wasted second there, and the sound design that is probably one of the most crucial parts of this film. Like, I think it's a crucial part of most sound films, but like here it's just, it creates the tension. It creates almost the pacing, and it's just like some of the repeated motifs in that and Ludwig Göransson's score are just like so chilling and unnerving and dread and inducing, and it's I have little doubt of that this is going to be a film that's going to be taught in like a film sound like classes, or like I think that's the new benchmark, honestly. Like, yeah. What, anything else? Anything to add to that, Ben?
Well, I just think, like, as a piece of film construction, as I said earlier, like it's astounding. Like it's, to think of a way to, you can very easily tell this story in such a straightforward, linear fashion, and like people always talk about Nolan's play, like how he plays with time to be a bit of a shtick, but like as with Dunkirk in this, like that just his use of non-linear storytelling just enhances everything, with like each scene leading into each other thematically. Like it's such train of thought filmmaking in the best way. I'm almost lost for words at this point. Like I'm so astounded by this, and as the two 25-year-old bros who
brilliant,
we really loved the new Christopher Nolan film, and I wasn't too crash hot on Barbie.
I don't even want
to. Yeah, I just like to apologize to the stereotype police. For this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though it's just how I feel on the inside. Yeah.
Also, also, we because we did these over 2 nights, I think I can confirm the definitive order. If you're going to see two of the films in the same day or in successive days, Barbie first, Oppenheimer second, because a lot of people think Oppenheimer first, Barbie second, and Barbie's is dessert. This is like, Oppenheimer ends in such a chilling way that dessert won't do anything. Like, yeah. So Barbie first, Oppenheimer second. Anyway.
Just before we leave, what's that? You made the atomic bomb and now you're sad that people died? More like Oppenheimer. Am I right?
More like Floppenheimer, because Barbie's beating it at the box office, baby.
No.
Yeah.
You mean the 4-quadrant family film is going to make more money than the R-rated 3-hour-long biopic about a dour subject? Oh my god, which box office analyst got that one wrong?
Literally none of them, but let that not distract from the fact that that's what the narrative people are running with. Anyway.
Yeah.
Whether it's Barbie or Oppenheimer, you're winning this week. But you should see both.
I disagree.
Okay, well, we can. I think Barbie's like
listen to our Barbie review. It's out.
Yeah, I have my issues with it, but I think a lot of its issues are still interesting. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Goodbye.
Wow. 40 minutes almost exactly. Just like Nolan and his film plates.
Okay, I'm done.